Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to 2.0. That's right, 2.0 is in the house. I am so happy to be back on your screen. I'm so happy that you've decided to tune in for another episode. We appreciate it. If you are a returning subscriber, we appreciate the love and support. Thank you. We also want to take this moment to invite you to share the link of this video on your social media platform or text it to a couple of people you feel who might be interested in the content that we are creating here. And if this is your first time visiting us, we are happy that you've decided to check us out. We would like to extend an invitation to you to have you hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell so you are notified the next time we drop an episode. So, we've been talking to our guest, Eddie. We had the first episode that dropped last week. So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch the part one, so go ahead and do that and then come back and watch part two. But we're happy you're here. So let's dive into the second episode of the interview with Eddie. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. So did you guys consider counseling together?
Briefly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had already made up my mind by then. I had already made up my mind that I didn't want it anymore.
You don't want what? The marriage?
I didn't want the marriage anymore.
You don't want the marriage anymore?
I didn't want the marriage anymore. I didn't want to sacrifice any more of myself because I felt like that's what I was doing the whole time. Right? I gave up a lot of myself into the marriage. And I'm not saying that she didn't, right?
Yeah.
Because we know it's no easy task staying at home.
Right.
It's not easy being home all day with kids. I know it's not. But it also wasn't easy to get up, rain, sleet, or snow, and make it happen. It wasn't easy to get up in the midst of depression and anxiety and still show up to work. It wasn't easy working 18 hours a day, come home, take a nap, and go right back to work again.
Right, right.
It wasn't easy not seeing my kids for 2 days in a row, even though we lived in the same house.
Right. So do you think like there were things that could have been done from a time management perspective? Because it seems like, as you said, you were spending a lot of time working and not enough time at home or not enough time for the family. So was there a point, like rather than saying like I don't want the marriage anymore, was there a point that you considered maybe like downsizing on certain things or cutting down on some of the expenses just so you wouldn't have to work so much and have more time to spend at home?
I was on a bare minimum. Like literally what I earned at the school was enough to cover bills. So downsizing what? We sell the house. We sell the car. We stopped paying for internet. Right? Because we weren't living a luxurious lifestyle.
Right.
We were maintaining.
Gotcha.
Right? Food was being bought. Clothes for the kids were being bought. Right? Needs were met. There wasn't it's not like there was much to trim off of. If you're talking about downsizing, if there was a way for me to work less.
Yeah, scale back on some of the things that you had at home.
My solution was she has to go to work.
Okay.
That was my solution.
Got it.
It was attempted.
Yeah. But even with that though, if she had to go to work, then you still, you had like 2 kids or 3 kids, then you have to consider daycare,
which
childcare,
I'm fully aware of,
right.
Which is where the understanding part comes in. I don't not want to dedicate time to you.
Right.
If you can find an uninterrupted 2 hours for me, for us to enjoy, you let me know because I can't find it. And yes, it sounds crazy. Like, how can't you? No. And the thing that I'm realizing, or that I realized after the fact, was that she was also going through her own stuff. She was also going through her own mental battles. She was also going through her own emotional battles that weren't communicated to me. It was projected on her. Hurt was projected onto me. My hurt was projected onto her.
Okay.
That's why I said we both bled on each other for 13 years.
Got it.
So when I realized how bad it was, I found myself very briefly, right? When I say myself, I mean the person, Eddie. And there was this much left. And I said, this,
right,
I'm saving this for me. This belongs to me. You can't have it. I'm your wife. I understand that. You can't have it. My kids can't have it. My friends can't have it. My family can't have it. This belongs to me. I finally found what I've been looking for, and it's been myself, my mental peace, my start to recovery.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
It belongs to me. You can't.
Gotcha.
I can't risk coming back to this and going through this all over again. As far as, because there were multiple conversations, right? There was multiple conversations. What bothered me a lot is that every conversation ended up in me being left behind, in me being abandoned. Told you I got abandonment issues.
Right. Yeah.
You can't use my weakness against me.
Right.
You can't ask me to be vulnerable and then it gets weaponized.
Yeah.
So the last conversation we had, right? I had called her attention about some things. I finally learned a little bit of communication skills.
Yeah.
So I approached it very cautiously, very soft, very, watch my tone, watch my mannerisms, right? You see, I move my hands a lot when I speak.
Right. Yeah.
Did I mention the part I was an instructor, right? So my hands move a lot when I
Yeah.
speak. I'm used to just, dialect.
Yeah.
We go back and forth. Her ending statement was, I want a divorce.
Wow.
You're saying this to me?
Yeah.
How dare you? I've provided a house. I've done everything I'm supposed to do.
Right.
This is the second time you tell me you're going to abandon me. I will not allow it to happen a third.
Yeah. Those are like trigger words, right?
I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford for that to happen one more time. So when the thought of therapy came up, yes, maybe it would have. When the thought of counseling came up, yes, maybe it would have. I didn't want to.
Got it.
Not happening.
Yeah.
The D word was thrown at me and
Right.
it freaked me out. It
And
freaked me out.
That kind of like, threw you into a scare, right? Because
I went into panic mode.
Right.
I went into survival mode, which is what I had told one of our pastors one time, right? Because they had us meet with pastors and stuff like that. So I told her, I went into survival mode. Whatever I have left belongs to me. I'm not giving it up.
Got it.
I can't. I finally figured out what my problem was, and I'm starting to work on it. I finally learned how to communicate, and I knew, Junior, the moment I learned how to communicate, I was going to lose a lot of people. Because I allowed so much to happen in my life for acceptance.
Right.
Because I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be needed. And the moment I was able to identify, hey, I don't like that. Don't talk to me that way.
Yep.
Hey, I don't like that. Don't treat me that way.
Sort of being able to stand up for yourself,
And not that I've never been able to, because
Right.
those of you who know me, you've known me for a while, my students, and just, I can come off very aggressive. I've been told I'm unapproachable. Okay, fine. Whatever that means to you,
Yeah.
right? I love conversing with people. But I never spoke about what I truly felt,
Yeah.
because I never wanted to lose anybody. Because I was abandoned by my mom, I was
Right.
abandoned by my dad, right? So everything that I ever did was so I can earn that. And I brought that into my marriage.
Gotcha.
And the moment I decided to start speaking on it,
Yeah.
now I got flipped. Now I'm the problem. Now I'm aggressive. Now why are you talking to me this way? Why are you saying this now? I just told you I didn't know how to say it before.
Got it. So now,
I've created a safe space where I can say these things now. I've learned the words to communicate what I'm feeling.
properly. Yeah.
I've learned how to tell you I don't like this and I expect that.
Right. So you say you met with the pastors at the church. Like, what was their advice, or how did they help navigate through the issues that you were going
I'll be
through?
honest with you, I don't remember a lot of those conversations.
Okay.
I remember briefly, one of them was just like, and I'm sorry to say it like this, but it was just like, oh, pray.
Right.
Okay, yes, gotcha. But I still feel hurt.
Got it.
I still feel angry.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because like we're both Christian, and
Yeah.
as you know, in the Christian community, especially if there's not any, I don't want to minimize what you were going through, what you and your ex-wife was going through, but if there's like any major issues where, as far as like physical abuse or domestic abuse or infidelity or anything like that, so they don't really see like like a reason why the marriage should end. Like,
To
they
me,
should be able to work through.
infidelity doesn't have to be the only reason for a marriage to break apart. It doesn't have to be the only cause for divorce. Yes, from a spiritual and biblical standpoint, that is the only acceptable term, the only acceptable way.
Right.
Yes, and like I said, it could have, it maybe would have, but there was too much hurt for me to come back from. There was too much hurt for me to come back from. To some, it might not be a big deal. To some, it might be like, hey, man up, bro. Like,
Right.
take it to the chin. It is what it is. She says some things that hurt you. Oh, well. No.
So now that you've been out of the marriage for some time, and you went through therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So do you take a, do you take a look back and see and look at some of the things that you could have done
Oh yeah,
differently, or you could have
yeah,
approached differently, or you could have handled differently?
yes, yes. At the very beginning,
Hmm.
marriage counseling,
Right.
premarital counseling.
Hmm.
Deal with the issues up front. Set expectations early.
Hmm.
Learn how to communicate effectively. When your partner speaks to you, it needs to be from a place of love and
Right.
not reproach.
Hmm.
It cannot be a condemning conversation,
Gotcha.
right? You have to create a safe space for both sides to communicate what they want and what they need and what has to happen.
Hmm.
From my perspective,
Gotcha.
that could have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Have we have dealt with ourselves before getting into the marriage, or have we have dealt with ourselves after or in the marriage, right?
Hmm.
I made a joke to her the other day, right? Because my ex-wife and I still communicate. We got 3 kids,
Of course. Yeah.
right? So I said a joke. She laughed, or she ha-ha'd it,
Hmm.
right? I don't know how it was accepted, but I said it.
Hmm.
I said 13 years, 3 kids, and a whole divorce, and we finally learned how to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have to be enemies.
Right.
We don't have to be enemies.
Absolutely.
We have 3 kids in between us.
Hmm.
We have to find a way to co-parent. We have to find a way to be able to get along
Yeah.
enough to make sure that those 3 humans aren't affected by our decision
Hmm.
and don't have to go through what we went through.
Gotcha. Now, when you were thinking of the process of divorce and being away, from the house, and I know, you talk about your kids,
Oh
of,
man, my
with
babies,
such joy.
my babies.
So knowing that you were not going to be involved in their lives like 24/7 anymore,
So
what was that thought process
it
for you?
was tough because, okay, fine. I filed for divorce,
Yeah.
right? She asked for it.
Hmm.
I
You
filed for
filed
it.
for it.
You want to hear another joke?
Usually it's the woman who's the woman who
Okay,
filed. Yeah.
another bad joke. Those
Hmm.
who know me know I love humor. I love, especially
Hmm.
dark humor.
Yeah.
I did what every husband does. I gave his wife what she wanted. She asked for a divorce. I gave it to her. Who was I to say no? But it's also because it's what I wanted.
Hmm.
I just heard it from her,
Right.
right? At that point, I gave everything up. Now it was just like I've communicated.
Hmm.
The ball's in your court.
Right.
Your response is you want a divorce? Okay,
Got it.
we're good.
So,
Okay. Now, what was my process? It's tough because a lot of people say, oh, well, you filed for divorce and you did this and you started a relationship immediately after you.
hmm.
Okay, fine. Yes, yes. Society.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you honestly think it was easy for me
Hmm.
to leave an entire house behind?
Hmm.
The house that I worked for, that I nearly died trying to buy because I fell asleep truck driving one time
Wow.
and took a tree out with me. What? Because why? Because I worked an extra day because I needed money for the down payment.
Wow.
Right? Do you honestly think I wanted to leave my house when my youngest was only 5 months old?
Hmm.
Do you think I wanted to miss out on first steps? You think I wanted to miss out on first foods? You
Right.
think I wanted to hear, I wanted to miss on first words?
Hmm.
Hell no. It was the cost of me making a decision to salvage what I have left.
Hmm.
So yes, it sucks. I don't see I'm not a part of my kids' everyday life anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not. Right. I remember I was talking to a good friend of mine at the time,
Hmm.
and he says, "Are you sure you want to be a hybrid parent?" So what does that mean? He says, "Well, now you have to father through FaceTime or phone calls, and you're not going to be there anymore." I said, "Yeah, I understand that, but at the cost of what?
Right.
At the cost of what?" So yes, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yes, it sucks. Right. I have 3 kids, and I see them as much as I could,
Hmm.
whenever I could. Right. I live an hour away from them,
Right.
and I work 70 hours a week.
Gotcha.
One good thing I will say, right, because I don't want to take away from that either, is I don't have the restrictions from her.
Hmm.
If right now and go stop by and hey, listen, I'm on my way to pick up the kids.
Right.
If I wanted to, hey, can I have the kids this weekend? We're gonna go take a trip. There's no restrictions.
Hmm.
I have full access to my kids, which is something I am forever grateful for because we
Nice.
know how bad that could have turned,
Got it.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like I said, you speak very highly of your, with so much joy about your kids, as every parent will,
Yeah, yeah.
and it sounds like you have a close bond with your oldest son,
Ezra,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and especially, I think you mentioned in past conversations that he has like a special,
Ezra's autistic,
oh yeah,
right?
he's
We're in
autistic, yeah.
April, Autistic Awareness Month,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Ezra is autistic. He has what they call, oh my gosh, what is the phrase?
Asperger's?
Asperger's
Really?
syndrome.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, for some people, there's like this image of what autism is, and Ezra breaks all those boundaries because he doesn't look autistic. What does autism look like?
Got it.
Right? Ezra's autism is emotional and social.
Got it. So, listening to everything that went down with the marriage, what do you say to the people who may thinking that you didn't try hard enough?
Yeah, I didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
Ooh, you want to filter the response, right? Because I'm not trying to get you banned or I'm not trying to get you shunned from the church. What do I say
Yeah.
that I should have tried hard enough?
Yeah. And keeping the context that I explained before, no infidelity, no
No,
domestic
no, of course,
abuse.
of
Yeah.
course, of course, of
Yeah.
course. I tried my best. Simple. Because one thing I will not do anymore, Junior, is I will not explain myself to anybody.
Right.
Nope. Because if you think it was easy for me to do all of that and leave all of that behind, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Because I've heard it. Oh, how dare you? Oh, why would you? Oh,
Got
you
it.
should have X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe to what I went through isn't a big deal for some people. For me, it was everything.
Got
When
it.
I finally found what mental capacity is, what mental space is, what mental wellness is, I defend it tooth and nail now. And
Got it.
unfortunately, my marriage paid the cost of that.
I see.
Unrealistic expectations,
Right.
unspoken expectations, unattended to mental health, unattended to self-love. Pushed both of us, right? Because we both agree that we were in very opposite sides.
Right.
Caused us to bleed on each other, neglect each other, and this was the outcome.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I think, do you attribute all of the some of the issues to the fact that you were struggling with your weight?
My weight was part of my mental health issue. My weight was part of my depression. I dealt with a lot of my emotions through food. I come from Latin culture, bro. I come from Latin culture. Everything is dealt with food.
Right.
Nobody talks emotions. We eat. You're mad? Here, have
Yeah.
something to eat. You're happy. We
Either
should
the
go
way.
out to eat.
Yeah.
You're sad? You want me to make you something?
Right. That was our normal response or anything.
Exactly. So my price to pay for that was obesity, diabetes, hypertension.
Yeah, as I said, everything high, everything high. So, like right off when we started the interview, you were like, "Can I say it? Can I say it?" It's like you were eager to say the word that I'm divorced, and you had a smile. It seems like you said it with a sense of relief.
Yes.
Why is that?
Not relief as in I'm happy that it happened, but as in I have finally come to terms with my new role in life. I am a divorced dad.
Gotcha.
Before it was something I wasn't able to say so freely because there was a sense of guilt.
Right.
There's shame behind it. There's a lot of negative emotions that's tied to divorce. And yes, I don't promote it.
Right.
No, it happened to me, but I don't promote divorce. Work for your marriage, work for your relationship, do everything you're supposed to do
Right.
on both ends so that this doesn't happen.
Got it.
And if it does happen, you need to be able to look back and say, I'm divorced. It happened. It happened. I'm where I need to be in life, mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm where I'm at physically. I'm where I'm at socially. I'm aside from the negative context of what divorce is, it has brought a lot of enlightenment to my life and recognizing who I am as a person
Yeah.
and who I can be to people.
Got it. Now, the fact that you're saying you don't promote it, you don't encourage it. You want to encourage
It's a bit of a
people.
conundrum, isn't it? Because wait a minute, how is a divorced dad going to tell me? No, and what I mean by it is don't let it be the solution. Don't let it be your first solution.
I know. But I mean, it's a little, not to say it's a little contradicting, right?
Very much. No, I know it is.
Yeah. So you're saying you don't promote it and you don't encourage it, but yeah, you're the one who filed for divorce. But yet there was no domestic abuse and there was no infidelity.
So
which were like the two major, reasons that people would
What I
consider.
mean by when I don't promote it is don't let it be your first shot. Don't let a disagreement say I'm getting divorced, right? Because that's very common nowadays.
Right,
People
of course,
aren't willing to put in the work that it takes, right? It was a 13-year relationship. It was a 9-year marriage. If that's what I wanted, I would have gotten divorced after 2 years.
Right.
Right? But I stuck it out because it's supposed to get better. If I do the work, the results will show.
Right.
Didn't happen.
Got it. All right. So now you're divorced,
Hmm.
and how long has it been since you've been divorced?
July will be a whole year since the court actually stamped,
Stamped
sealed, and
it.
delivered.
Okay, so it's gonna be a whole year.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned earlier, you're already in a new relationship,
I am.
and
I
not just a
am. I
relationship,
am.
you're already engaged.
I am. I am. Which
Talk to us about that.
contrary to popular belief.
Yeah,
Wow, Eddie, wait a minute.
yeah. So do you think you're ready?
Yes.
How?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer the question with a question,
Sure.
right? How or is there a timeline to being ready?
Well, people would say, did you really take the appropriate time to get healed
Okay,
before you
good.
move on?
Granted. Gotcha.
Hmm.
I did in my current relationship. My current partner has helped me heal in ways that I have never experienced before.
Mm.
The level of understanding and patience that woman has with me, it is crazy.
Hmm.
I even try to sabotage my own relationship, my current relationship. I would tell her all the time, "Are you sure you want this?
Mm.
Are you sure you want my anxiety, my depression, my traumatic responses? I come with 3 kids.
Hmm.
Are you sure this is what you want?"
What do you think you're always looking for that reaffirmation?
Because I never got it as a kid. Have I dealt with it?
Hmm.
Yes. Am I still dealing with it right now as we speak?
Mm.
Am I crazy to get engaged right after getting a divorce? Maybe to some degree, to some standard. Yeah, possibly. But who chooses when I get to be happy? Who chooses how I get to be happy? Who chooses when I get to move on? Is there a society response,
Mm.
right? Show me the book that says you're supposed to wait X amount of time until you can move on.
I mean, it's not a written law, right? It's not a book that says it. But thinking if you're just coming out of a 13-year relationship,
Mm-hmm.
9-year marriage, you still got 3 kids. One would think, hey, you know what? I don't know, maybe you want to take some time to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how long were you actually by yourself before you got into this relationship?
About a month.
You're joking.
No, no,
So
no.
was it somebody that you knew, or I mean,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
So okay, so the relationship started like immediately after divorce, after divorce, or
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Because I didn't file for divorce immediately.
okay,
I left the house,
gotcha.
right? We
Hmm.
separated. I moved out.
Hmm.
Went to go stay with my grandmother for a little bit, right? This person comes back into my life. It's like, hey, I'm vulnerable right now. You gotta be careful with me.
Hmm.
I'm very sensitive right now.
Right.
All right, cool, whatever. We'll chop it up.
Hmm.
Starts to aid me in my healing process. She's like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if yeah, possibly.
Hmm.
Listen, I'm going through something right now.
Okay.
I got X, Y, and Z going on. Okay.
So is she also going through something?
No, no, me,
Oh,
me,
it's just
me,
you.
me.
Okay.
This is me communicating effectively now,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
I'm letting her know what she's getting into,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
I have, I got kids, I got a house, I'm
Hmm.
I'm currently in the process of a divorce. I got all of this going on,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Society's not gonna like you.
Hmm.
Society doesn't like me.
Right.
Be careful. She's like, no, listen, it just if she would always tell me, if this is what you want,
Right.
it's what I want. If you don't want it, you got to tell me, because
Right.
she would only go to where I would let her go.
Hmm.
Right? A lot of people look at her as the villain in my story, but what they don't realize is she's my recuperation.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
Because as I told my therapist, or excuse me, as my therapist told me the other day, who gets to decide when I get to be happy?
Right.
I have learned the tools, I have learned myself, and I have learned what I want and don't want in life.
Hmm.
And if this person is able to check off those boxes and demonstrate those things to me,
Yeah.
then why am I supposed to wait 2 years?
Gotcha.
Right? Why am I supposed to wait for 10 therapy sessions and for the ink on my divorce papers to
To
dry?
dry. Yeah.
Why?
So how long have you guys been together now? Almost a year?
About a year and some months.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. And you guys, as we said earlier, you guys already engaged.
Yes. I could not let that one get away. Nope. Nope. Because you don't find many people like that nowadays.
Oh yeah.
She matches my hustle. She drives. She's also a driver,
Hmm.
right? Her work ethic is just as high as mine.
Right.
Her understanding about life is where mine is. We understand each other a lot as far as what hurt looks like
Hmm.
and what the healing process is supposed to take.
Okay. And now that you guys are engaged, so that means you're planning on getting married. So what are some of the things that you think you're going to do differently than your last marriage?
Communicate. No matter how much is going to hurt me or her, I have to say what I feel.
Hmm.
I have to say it because I saw what it does when I don't do that.
Gotcha. It's interesting you mentioned that because I think, communication is one of the things that I struggled with in my past relationship
It's
as well.
bad for men.
Yeah,
It's
for men.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah. We don't usually like to express ourselves. We try to shut down, we don't verbalize anything.
Mm-mm.
We just kind of like keep it on the inside and we take it and we move on
The
until.
worse I felt, the more I worked.
And what I realize is, the more like sometimes when I internalize certain things, they come out in different behaviors.
Yes.
And sometimes they're not the most pleasant behavior,
Yeah.
they could be detrimental.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that this is something that you're taking away from the past relationship and being able to communicate with,
Have to.
with your next partner.
And not just in my romantic life,
Hmm.
right? In friendships,
Yeah,
at work,
got it.
in my everyday dealings with people,
Right.
right? I'm not a brute,
Mhm.
but you are going to hear what I feel.
Got it.
You are going to hear what I think.
But there's also another thing that I think we should consider as well is, I think one of the key factors or key contributors to the, downfall of your marriage was time management, right? When it came to, you were working a lot because you had so much to provide for. So in this case, I think if anything, it's probably going to be a lot harder or not necessarily worse because it's going to require more because you do have a financial obligation towards your ex-wife and your kids. And now you're going to embark in another relationship and you are going to have additional responsibilities on that, right? So if anything, it's just adding more to what you have.
You understand the
So
phrase quality over quantity?
quality over quantity.
I don't have much time,
Hmm.
but the little bit of time that I do have,
Right.
you're going to feel every second of it. I don't have my kids as much as I want to,
Mm-hmm.
but when they're with me,
Right.
my phone gets tossed somewhere around the house. It doesn't exist. I am unreachable. When my fiance and I decide today's date night,
Mm-hmm.
nothing else matters.
Gotcha.
Quality over quantity. Don't have much time available, but the time that I do have, it belongs to that person at the moment, right? One of my biggest issues has always been communication. One of my biggest issues has always been feeling wanted, feeling seen, feeling understood. As long as you can check off those boxes, you have me fully dedicated because
Gotcha.
I cannot fall back into that space again.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And now with your weight loss journey, like what did that teach you about yourself?
I'm handsome. Wait a minute. I look good in skinny jeans. Y'all ain't never tell me this. Yeah, listen, y'all never told me that form-fitting clothes. I mean, y'all still got a little bit to work on. Relax. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the ankles is out, the foot is up.
Yeah.
To value myself a lot more.
Yeah. Describe what it did to your confidence level.
I still don't like attention. It's awkward now, right? Because I run into people who knew me before and they
Yeah.
see me now after so many years and it's just like, oh my God. And it's just like, can you stop, please? Can you just, how much did you lose? Just can you stop?
Yeah.
It taught me self-worth. It taught me that from the very beginning, I should have put myself first. And not from a selfish standpoint, but from self-valuing, right? Value myself a lot more. Understand who I am as a person. Be confident in who I am and what I can give. Unfortunately, a lot of that reflected in my appearance, and it wasn't very good because you had a 540-pound overweight male
Right.
who wore a 6X and 62 in pants. It was crazy, right? Like my self-confidence, my self-worth, everything was, the only thing that was high was my health status, which wasn't good,
Yeah.
right? So now it did a swap. Now my confidence level is be careful. You can't just talk to me any kind of way now. And I don't mean it from an arrogant standpoint, Junior, right? Understand that. I
Yeah.
don't mean it
Yeah.
from a brute, as I mentioned earlier. It's just that now I understand who I am. I understand the value that I bring to a conversation, to a room, to a job. Of
course.
I understand it now.
Yeah.
I now realize that I am the prize. Right? Because society builds this idea around a woman.
You did not just say that.
I said it. I finally discovered it. Yeah. No, I mean,
Wow.
all jokes aside,
Yeah.
it taught me to appreciate and value myself a lot more.
Gotcha. Here's one like last final question. What was the conversation like with Ezra since he's your oldest? The fact that daddy was no longer going to be home 24/7.
It's rough because at the beginning we shielded the kids, right? We being myself and my ex-wife. We shielded the kids a lot, right? So right before, no, right after I moved out the house, I knew my first step was to go back to truck driving. It's always been a passion for me. I love driving.
Okay.
I like teaching. It was gratifying. It was a learning experience to me. But I'm a driver, right? I'm an educator by nature. People will sit and talk when I listen. I understand that. But I went back to driving. So the idea behind that was daddy's driving, daddy's working. Right? Daddy's working.
Gotcha.
Daddy's back in the truck.
Right. Because
But then the conversations had to come about because now he's starting to ask questions. Now
Right.
it's just like, hey, listen, so your mom and I aren't together anymore. Why? Mommy and daddy are friends now. That's not your wife anymore? No, Ezra, not anymore.
Sure.
Are you still my dad? Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Wow.
Ezra Michael, I will always be your father. First and foremost,
Wow.
don't you get that twisted, little boy.
Yeah.
It was those conversations. And I needed my therapist's help with that. And one thing she told me was, don't shield them from it.
Yeah.
This is the choice you made. You have to face it head on. Have the conversation with him. Ezra, your mom and I are not divorced. What does that mean, Dad? It means we're no longer married. What does that mean, Dad? Ezra is intelligent.
Yeah.
Socially and emotionally, right? Ezra can't sit down for 2 seconds. But you catch something that engages him. What does that mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
And I had answers for my boy, right? It means I'm no longer going to live there. It means that your mom and I are now friends. I am still your father. That is still your mother. But that is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Does that mean we can't go to 16 handles anymore? I could take you to 16 handles when I pick you up. Is that what you want? What about when I want Chinese food now, Dad? Like how because these other things that are going. If this is what concerns him, then I'm going to entertain it. Because one thing I tried to do throughout this whole thing is protect their innocence.
Of course.
And obviously there's the little one, there's Elias, right?
Right.
I'll have the conversation with him when he's ready to hear it. Yeah. So it's I had to face it head on. I couldn't shield them from it because I couldn't let somebody else's narrative distort their thought of me as their father.
Right.
Couldn't let that happen.
It's it's interesting because there's a famous quote on social media where they talk about like a man will sacrifice his happiness for the family, but a woman would sacrifice the family for his happiness. Not necessarily that the roles are reversed in this situation, but earlier you explained that you found there was just a little bit of you left.
I found it.
Right.
I had to dig deep to find it.
Right, and you've decided that you're gonna keep that for yourself.
It belongs to me.
Right.
It's mine.
So it's like, I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it, right? You have 3 kids, and you walk away. It's like,
I didn't walk away. I didn't walk away, Junior. I didn't walk away. I stood for 9 years.
you stood for 9 years,
I
but
didn't
at the
walk
end,
away.
yeah, you stood for 9 years, but at the end, you did, file for divorce,
She
right?
asked for it.
I get that. I get that. And the height of emotions, people say a lot of stuff, they say a lot of things, but
Okay.
I'm
Okay. I'll allow it. I'll allow it because I've learned now, right? I've learned you don't speak from emotions
exactly
because when you're mad,
listen,
you say things you don't mean.
Right,
And
right,
guess what?
right.
And once you say something, you can't
yeah,
take it back.
I understand. You can't take. Yeah, I understand. You can't take it back, right? But sometimes and that's why it's important because sometimes we tend to make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotional state.
Okay. Are you asking me? Do I regret it? No.
All right, so you don't regret it. You don't regret walking away.
It was a learning lesson. It was an experience that I was able to share with her. We have brought 3 beautiful humans into this world.
Yeah.
And the idea is now to make sure they don't suffer from our decisions.
Right.
And that's where it ends for me. Right? Because everybody thinks, because this was the idea afterwards, right? When they found out that I had divorced, when I had filed for divorce, is like, You'll come off of that soon. Come off of what? Apparently, I was supposed to. Oh no, I can't. It was a mistake. I don't regret it.
No.
I regret the effect that it's taken
Yeah.
on my everyday life with my kids. I regret the fact that I am now no longer part of my kids' everyday life, that I don't get to do Saturday morning wake ups,
Right.
that I don't do late night conversations, that I don't do tucking into bed in the middle of the night.
Right.
I regret the fact that I couldn't see Elias's first steps. I had to see it in a video that was sent to me. And those are the things. My marriage, I, that was it.
Yeah.
That's the end of our story.
Right. You know, I don't know. I mean, you know, you have a 1 month old. Like when you left the house, she was what, 1 month old?
He was 5 months.
5 months?
Elias was 5 months.
Wow.
Crazy. I know.
That-
Listen, you
that
don't have
is-
to tell me. You're not going to say anything I haven't already heard.
No, I know. I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking of it from a fatherhood standpoint, right?
It's tough.
And I'm sure you're a great dad. You know, as you said, you work,
It's my only priority
you work
right
a
now.
lot. Yeah.
My mental health and my role as their father is the only thing that matters to me right now.
Yeah.
It's enough. That's at the forefront, right? Obviously, I'm in a relationship right now that also has my time, it has my attention, it has my dedication. But my role as a father and my mental health space is very important to me.
Gotcha.
Can't risk it for anything or anyone, because I saw what it did when I did let it get out of control.
Got it. Last little parenthesis I'm going to open up before we close. You said, like when you talk to the pastors at the church, you know, they would tell you to pray. Do you think that's something that you prayed about? The decision to walk away, or the decision to, you know, with everything that was going on in the marriage?
To some degree, yes.
Okay.
To some degree, yes. I was too angry. I was too hurt to, how do I put it? Not to try to listen, but to wait for a response. It's like, I'm hurt. I keep getting hurt. How much longer do I allow for myself to get hurt? Do I allow for myself, right? Because obviously nobody can do anything to you that you're not allowing them to do,
Right.
right? I made the decision. I am no longer going to allow this to happen.
Gotcha.
I cannot let another conversation like that happen again, where it ends in I want to get divorced.
Do you think, was it everything that you thought it would be, being divorced?
No, I've never done it before.
Well, I know you've never done it before, but you know, sometimes people have this expectation, oh, like, you know, once I'm divorced, I'm going to be free. I don't
Nah.
no longer have to deal with this.
What, like that
I don't
false
have
sense
to
of
do
freedom that your guy was talking
Right,
about last
exactly.
time?
Yeah.
Nah.
He described it as a false sense of liberation.
Yeah. No.
So, yeah.
No, remember the part about where I got into a relationship right afterwards? I was on the market for 30 days. Snatch that up quick. I mean, listen, all jokes aside, right? All jokes aside. No, it wasn't what I expected, because I didn't know what to expect. Every day was a learning process for me. Every day
Right.
was, how am I going to survive another day? How am I going to live for my kids another day? My role right now is that my identity is in fatherhood.
Gotcha.
So as long as I can show up for my kids, everything else will fall into place.
Good. Good. Well, I'm glad, you know, you have the kids at your, you know, forefront, at your focus. So that's awesome. And now you're in a, you know, new relationship. You know, you're blushing whenever you talk about it.
Yeah,
You
listen,
seem to be
listen,
happy,
man.
so,
Listen.
you know, so, you
I
know,
put her up every once in a while, but she's my little secret. She's my, you know, no one has access
well,
to her,
it's
because you guys aren't going to ruin
it's
that
no
for
longer
me.
a secret now.
No. What I mean is, because I have people that ask me, like, straight out, like,
Yeah.
oh, who is she? You don't
Yeah.
post her much.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
supposed to?
Right.
Right? Am I supposed to post her every 12 hours? Like,
Yeah.
relax. Just stick around long enough and you'll see what comes out of this.
I hear you. But anyway, man, yeah, I know this was a long time coming, so
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
appreciate,
sir.
you know, I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you being vulnerable. I appreciate you being able to share your story and putting it out there, because
Yeah.
I know it's not easy.
It's not.
You know, like I said, you know, I did the last episode myself, you know, kind of like shared some of my story, so I know it was a struggle. There's something you said, you know, there are days you're doing good and there are days, you know, you're still struggling, and I still go through that. And mind you, I've been divorced. It's going to be 3 years now.
Yeah.
You know, so there are days that I still struggle. You talked about shame and guilt. You know, I
a lot
dealt
of
with,
it.
yeah, I dealt
Right.
with that a lot, especially being in the Christian community. So yeah, but the fact that you're finding ways to cope with it. So that's, you know, that's all we can do at
That's
the end
it.
of the day. You
That's
know,
it.
so
Just move forward. That's it.
yeah. So, you know, again, just thankful that you were able to be part of the show and share your story.
All right.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. 2.0, right? Let's do it.
Well, guys, as you know, as always, when closing the show, I always, talk about the fact that me personally, I don't support divorce. I don't encourage divorce, but I do understand that there are certain situations that may call for it. If you do find yourself going through a divorce, seek some help, talk to someone, find a counselor, find a therapist. There's nothing wrong with talking to a therapist. So find someone to talk to. If you don't have anyone to talk to, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. As always, live every day as if it is your last day, because one day it will be. I'm JR. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.